Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thank you so much for tuning into this brand new interview. I have someone with me, a very, very, very special guest. This person right here is a very funny comedian, but she's also an actress. She is also a stand-up comedian. She also does a lot of modeling when it comes to a Bang energy drink. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome. Oh, and I almost forgot the Sorry Mom podcast host.
Yeah.
Nikki Howard, how are you?
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm good. I'm so sorry. For everybody, it's not like this matters, but I'm going to tell everyone that I was late for the first time, probably in my life, to this interview. Haven't showered, and I apologize for my appearance. And I look disheveled, but I'm back. I'm on track, and I'm ready to rock it.
No worries. And again, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's cool. You are good. Everything's good. It's fine.
Thank you. Thank you. I know. Yeah, it's really, it's the anxiety. It's like you're here. You're here. It doesn't matter. You made it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I mean, how could I not get an interview with the one and only Nikki Howard? And anyway, speaking about that, I always start these interviews off with a spitball or fireball question.
Oh, God.
So, of course, when it comes to your Instagram presence, you are very famous for your lip syncs and your very great videos when it comes to that. Can you kind of tell us which one out of all of those has been your favorite thus far?
Oh, of my lip sync videos, probably the first one. Really, I did. I think it was The Bad Touch by the Bloodhound Gang. Or it was either that or Burn, Fire Burn, or Water, Fire Burn. I don't know, something Bloodhound Gang, but that's probably my favorite.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, of course, there's a lot of great classics when it comes to that. I mean, there's obviously, oh my goodness, I can't think of the name right now, but it's like IUDSIS, Stay in School. And yeah, that was legendary.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, bringing back the classics.
Of course. And speaking about, I want to get started with your beginnings. Now, obviously, as an actress and as a stand-up comedian, your main goal is to make people laugh because that's more rewarding than anything else. So can you talk about what inspired the passion for you to make people laugh?
Oh, God, a very unhappy childhood. A lot of trauma, but comedy always helped me. So I figured, why not pass the torch? So that's actually really how I had a kind of a rocky childhood, but comedy saved me, and now I hope it just brings me joy. It's like, and I love being able to do what comedy did for me for other people, I guess. So that's I wish it was something like way less sad, but it's like the old comedian trope.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously, sometimes it takes a little bit of sadness to, get into the groove of things, and of course, we always see that with a lot of comedians. I mean, I think from one of them, I would have to say maybe someone like a Nick Swartzen or a Chris Farley, or the legends.
Yeah, the legends. Yeah.
So, out of all comedians, who would you say is your first inspiration to say, like, I want to do this for a living?
Oh, Chris Rock. Yeah. My mom, she had us later in life, so she wasn't as like involved with, she thought that we were like just watching or reading or whatever it is, so my dad, he would just have Howard Stern on in the background, and so I was like, oh, what is this? And then my brother would get these books, like he got Howard Stern Dirty Words, and then he got Bigger and Blacker. But that like book version, I think it was called that, but I would just read all of these books. But I remember reading that. I remember reading the book and then watching the stand-up and then reading the book again, it's almost like his entire stand-up special transcribed into a book. And I just remember being like, this is the best thing ever. I don't agree. Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, but it's just his delivery, and I just remember being like, oh my God, this is it.
Well, that's awesome, especially an awesome beginning. And of course, shout out to the dog in the background who has made several appearances on your videos.
Yeah, I got two.
So speaking about one of the most famous things that you've done as well is also being a part of many projects in the past that we might not even have heard of before. Like for example, you've worked with Sprite, you've worked with a lot of like even Xbox at one point. Like,
Yeah.
can you talk about those opportunities that you've had in the acting business?
Um, well, I knew I always wanted to be an actor, so I started modeling first when I was 16. It's been, oh my God, a long time. It's like 12 years. I'm at the end of my rope. But I started knowing that, like, okay, this will be a good, there's no longevity to this career whatsoever. And it'll be a good segue into commercial work, which hopefully will get me in the door to doing like some acting work and then on TV. And like, we'll see where that goes. So it kind of, I mean, I think when you have a long-term plan and you're not like, I'm going to move to Hollywood and make it, like, and you're like, no, this, okay, I think this leads to this and this leads to this. So that's kind of what happened. So I got, I moved to New York to go to acting school, and I got an agent there, and I just ended up going, just going on auditions and self-submitting myself for things. And I got a lot of commercial work because that's kind of when the turn of, we really need some ethnically ambiguous people. And I was like, I'm that. I hire me. So that happened, and just you know, a bunch of print work, and you know, that eventually that led to commercials, and like, you know, and it actually worked. So yeah, but it was cool. It's great. I mean, luckily I got some union commercial stuff, which really set me up to eat for a little bit.
Well, that's awesome, especially getting those opportunities.
Yeah.
One of the opportunities I do want to mention as well is the fact that Nikki Howard went from all the way from her hometown to get an opportunity in California. So can you talk about that transition of like leaving a smaller hometown or whatever the case may be and be like, oh shit, here we go.
Well, I moved. I was like, there's no way. From South Florida. Like I could model, I could drive to Miami, but I was like, that's not what I want to do. So there's no way in hell I can stay here. So I applied. I applied to one acting school. I had a 2.7 GPA, just so you know.
Okay.
And I applied to Tisch at NYU, and I was like, this is one school. That's all we need. My mom was like, all right. So then I went and I auditioned, and they're like, you can't go to NYU. You have a horrible GPA. And I was like, didn't see that coming, Mom. So my mom and I walked around New York, and eventually we stumbled upon this acting conservatory. And I was like, I guess I should just try and go here, right? And she was like, I mean, yeah, you have literally no other option. So I was like, can I audition like here? And you had to have a monologue and stuff prepared. I was like, I just came from NYU and they don't want me. So they were like, great. So I auditioned, and I got a scholarship, thank God. And so I went there. It really worked out. And I went there for 2 years, and I was just living with 5 girls in a 2-bedroom apartment in the top floor of a 6th-floor walk-up in Harlem. Just cold and miserable and poor. And I was like, I could do all of this in someplace so much warmer. And like, I don't have to be like wet and tired when I get to, I could just drive there. Like, what a concept. So my best friend at the time and we just like packed up and we're like, let's get the fuck out of here. And we moved. And here we are.
Yeah. Making big moves over here in California.
I know. There's so much storage now. This is amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing too. And you know, part of your big moves, of course, is not only being a world famous actress, and of course,
famous actress.
and of course, not only that, you also are a part of as a co-host of a very, very famous podcast, which is known as Sorry Mom Podcast, along with Sydney A. Mailer. So can you talk about what the creation process was like for that?
Yeah, it's very simple. I love podcasts. I'm a huge fan of Joe Rogan Experience, Your Mom's House, Two Bears, One Cave. That's new. Big fan of that. I mean, just like Bill Burr's podcast. I love podcasts. Sydney like doesn't care about podcasts, but I was like, listen, we would go out places and we have like a banter. So people would be like, you guys should have a show. And this is so funny. I don't know who's talking wild and crazy, guys. But I was like, okay, yeah. And then people just kept saying that. And I was like, we got to start a podcast. And she was like, okay. And I was like, listen, I will figure out how to do this. I will do all of the work if you promise me that one day a week you will drive here and commit to this podcast. And she was like, okay. And so then my boyfriend Dylan helped me figure out how to do it, and she never missed a week. Say that. So that's how.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, I do want to point out as well that during an episode of the podcast, I believe it was the first episode or the first few episodes, that you did mention that Dylan was the main reason for the podcast to even happen.
Yes, absolutely. Because without him, I would not even know how to fucking do any of this. I'm like the least tech. I'm like, if you tell me what to do, I can do it. But like, I can't figure out the hardware, software situation.
Oh yeah, trust me, that's me. I don't even know how to edit my own videos.
Really?
No, well, I can't say that on camera, but I kind of did. So, it's kind of one of those things where like you have to kind of learn on the spot.
It's like, especially what am I going to do? Pay someone with what money? I can't pay anyone to edit my shit. Like, I got to figure this out.
Right. So, thanks, Stimulus Check. We do appreciate that hard work. Exactly. So, speaking about the Sorry Mom podcast, you've had some special guests on, not only from Dylan Francis, who I wish to say hello in the background as well, but, of course, a lot of special guests. I believe Simon Rex was one of them as well. And there was a lot of great guests on there. Out of all the guests that you've had, who would you say was the most memorable?
My mom. My mom. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Who was the most I really love Jeremiah Watkins, just because he's so like improv-y, and we just like, I don't think Sydney would agree with me because she's so not improv-y, but like I just find it so fun. We did his podcast and it was like Sydney was so out of her element. I felt so bad. And I was like, there's a voice machine. We're characters. So I had a lot of fun on that. But honestly, like I'm just surprised that anybody will agree to come on our podcast. So I'm stoked on it. Yeah,
that's awesome. Of course, who could forget about the legendary intro from for the podcast with the cameos from not only your mom, but also Sydney's mom. Can you talk about the creation towards that?
So again, I'm a huge fan of Your Mom's House, and they have, I don't know if you're familiar, but they have like this really long, very intricate intro song, and I was like, we need an intro song. And so Dylan saving the day. I was like, can you make me one? And he was like, I mean, I can do like a shitty one on GarageBand. I was like, I feel like it needs to have our moms in it. So I just was like, Mom, I need you to leave me a voicemail of just like saying some shit that you would say to me. And then I told Sydney to make her mom do the same thing, and we just used that, and there it is. Dylan was like, are you sure you want to use that? It's like, I can do a better one. I was like, it's perfect. Leave it. We need it.
Well, I mean, of course, how can you forget the legendary podcast opener, which involves Nicole, I want you to call me back right away. And it's like Kids of the Generation. And it's so iconic.
Thank you. Try. We put a mediocre amount of work into that, so I appreciate it.
Well, of course, I'm not speaking that, not only just a fan, but I believe speaking from the people that watch and listen and subscribe. Aww. And not only that, but I believe I'm also talking about the Patreon users that you do have as well. So
you don't even understand how much, like, honestly, you guys, it like means the world, because that money that we get, it goes to staying in this office that we have and like paying for our website and shit. It's like, I don't have to go in the moldy room anymore. It's like, it literally, I'm telling you, it's covered in black mold, and now I'm not sick. So you're the reason that I'm alive.
Well, we appreciate that. We appreciate that. So speaking about Patreon, so what was the idea behind starting it? And of course, for those who don't know, you could always subscribe to their Patreon. Yeah. Link will be in the description below. And of course, what was the kind of the idea process behind that?
So we actually had a few meetings with people that run podcasts. They were like, hey, do you want to like get some advice? Like, we can give you some guidance. Like, we think that, you're onto something. And I was like, yeah, would love that. I don't know what I'm doing. And so they were kind of showing us like what this company, they have like a few podcasts that they work with, like Tiger Belly is one of them, Bobby Lee. And so they were like, well, this is what our guys do. Like they have Patreon, you know, like this is what they do on it. And I was like, interesting. Interesting. And so they were like, you know, it's cool to have like incentives and stuff for people. And like, you know, and at the time I had just like done all of this stuff to the background. I was like, great, we can like, I like put crown molding in that bitch. I was like, we're good to go. We're set up. This will be great. Like extra cash flow, you know? And so, and so that obviously did not happen because I was like, thank God. The concept for me for Patreon was like, I want to like, it's really hard for me to think that people would want to like support us financially just for like doing something that's free, you know? Cause I'm like, I don't want anyone to have to pay for anything. I want people to know that they're appreciated, but like, you know, and that they get extra stuff for doing that. But I don't know. So anyway, I was like, I can't. I was running it for a while and I was like, I can't. I'm doing everything for the podcast. Like, she's like, let me do it. And I'm very controlling. So I was like, okay. Like I would like log on and see if she was doing everything right. But she kind of took the reins and was like, I want to give tiers and this and that. I was like, just make it fucking sick and like, you know, make them feel loved. And I was like, we got to make sure that we get these people Polaroids. We got to, you know, so I'm trying. But yeah, so that was kind of the idea. People were like, this is what other people are doing and they're making money. And I was like, okay, I guess
the cash flow has to come somewhere.
I guess we'll do that. I know. They're like, how much money are you making? And I was like, people make money?
Well, of course. And speaking about the Patreon, the one thing I do like to mention as well that I noticed as well as a Patreon user as well is the fact that the highest tier that you could get, it says, and I quote, "Damn, you took us on a date."
Is that what it says?
Yeah, that's what it says on the. It's like you took us on a date.
This is news to me, and I love that.
Yeah.
Good for Sydney for taking some creative liberties there. I gotta give her props on that. I haven't been on Patreon in a minute.
Yeah, well, I mean, it does say in the description. Don't quote me on exact word for
No,
word. It says, I believe it's for $200 or $300 that. Man, like, damn, you took us on a fucking date. You could take pictures with us. You could do all this, man.
That's amazing. Oh my God. Yeah. I didn't know. That's so cool. Wow. I don't even know what my own Patreon says. That's great. Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, hopefully someone in the comment section could match that. And I'm just kidding.
Yeah. We'll send you a Polaroid.
Well, of course, speaking from Patreon, then going on to your Instagram presence. I mean, obviously, when you started your Patreon, or not Patreon, excuse me, your Instagram, when you started your Instagram, you always had just photos, but then later on, you started doing your sketches, of course, along with Stevie Emerson, who I've had the pleasure of talking to as well.
Great.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. Actually, really fun fact, he actually went in the same class as me during the time of community college. So I thought that was actually freaking sick.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we were classmates at one point, but that's neither here or there
Okay.
for a summer semester of college. Anywho, so speaking about that, can you talk about the kind of the idea behind your skits and what was the idea for each and every one? Because apparently you guys keep raising the bar each and every time.
Well, Stevie is one of my best friends, and he's such a he's like one of the reasons that I even started doing sketches. Like he was like, no, you, because I always want to do comedy and stuff. So and I was starting to write, but nothing like that. And so he kind of, I guess, took me under his wing and was like, do you want to write some stuff? And I was like, really? It's like, yeah, let's write some stuff. So we ended up, I mean, we have a great dynamic together, and he has taught me so much, and I admire what he does so much, and it kind of, and for him to say like, no, you can do this, like just here, you teach a man a fish kind of a thing. Like he taught me like how to edit and how to write, and like I will never be able to explain how grateful I am for him, because he's truly given me so much confidence, and getting so emotional. But yeah, I love him. So I guess I just like, you know, I think of things. I realize that I think in a very different way than most people, which is like, I will find things funny, that people just don't realize, I guess. So I kind of just wrote shit down and was like, well, this is funny and this is relatable. And that's how everything really happens for me.
Well, that's awesome. I think the two that I want to point out that are my absolute personal favorites is the one that you recently did, or I don't know, well, it's kind of a tie, but it's the same series, but it's two videos of the fish tank, or the Shark Tank, yeah, the Shark Tank video of the boyfriend and the girlfriend, which I thought that was absolutely phenomenal. And then the other one happens to be the very famous app that tells you if guys' dicks are very big or very small. So
yeah, dick sizes. Yeah, that's so. When Stevie and I first started running, he's like, I have this concept for Black Mirror, but it's like a parody of Black Mirror. We'll call it Whack Mirror. And I was like, great, let's do it. So that app size one, we were brainstorming, and we kind of came up with that one. And shout out to Nikki Reynolds for doing all the graphics. And Stevie edited both of those, and he killed it, knocked it out of the park. But the Shark Tank one, yeah, that was just like, we were writing it crying, laughing. And we're like, God, I really hope that people think that this is as funny as we think that this is. And thank God it worked out. So
yeah, I think my favorite part of the why do I keep wanting to say fish tanks? Shark Tank videos is definitely I believe it was the second one where you're like, hey babe, so I want to go out with the girls. So and then you offered him so much and he's just like,
I know.
She's a slut. It's not gonna work out.
I know. I was like, what if he's like, we have to do another one? And I was like, but I shouldn't get a deal. And he was like, yes, that's amazing. You don't get a deal. I was like, let's do it.
I feel like a lot of people could relate to that one because a lot of the times in relationships, that has to be the case. You're in Shark Tank. You're literally negotiating to let a friend stay overnight or to even vape outside. I mean, that's certainly a...
That's not a rule in this house. We're indoor vaping.
Yeah. Well, say, hey, you're saving energy and you're saving time.
Multitasking.
Of course. So once again, Nikki, I do want to thank you for this conversation. But before we go, I always like to kind of give this last question. And the one thing that I do want to mention is your stand-up debut. That was definitely it was awesome. It was awesome to see on your Instagram. I believe it was an IGTV that you gave some of your highlights. What was that experience like performing in front of a live audience? Of course, before all this had happened with
it was terrifying. And Steven was like, you're doing stand-up. And I was like, he's like, no, you're doing it. I'll go to Mike's with you. Like, do it. So I was like, okay. So I went and I just kind of kept doing it. It was terrifying. I'm a nervous wreck constantly. So, and I care about comedy, which makes it so much worse. But I mean, no one booed. And for me, that is a win. And I felt very proud of myself for doing it. And hopefully the world opens back up soon and I can get back on stage. But for now, I'm just going to keep writing and making shit at home, 6 feet apart from people, the new normal. And I have a question for you.
Oh, okay.
Did you see the game last night? Because I see your Dodgers behind you.
Of course, there's the Los Angeles wall over there. Yes, I did see the game. Yes, of course.
Let's talk about how Jacques Peterson looks like he just put down his Supreme backpack.
I like how we're transitioning into sports. Absolutely.
Is Jacques Peterson on SoundCloud? Yes, I'm calling him Jacques because I feel like that's just better. So
well,
Jacques.
how could you mention about the Dodgers without mentioning about the all-star lineup that they have with Max Muncy, Chico, that apparently, is sadly not with the roster as of this moment, but it's still awesome of what the Dodgers have been doing. I think that they have a great chance of winning the whole entire thing, and I love how fans are going to blame it on quarantine to say that they finally won their first World Series.
I'm so upset about it. I'm like, we're just not even going to talk about what happened with the Astros. It's not even gonna. That was a good show. We would have been like, we're just not. Okay, all right, that's fine. I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or we can mention about how it was the Astros. No, it was the Florida Marlins that apparently had their game rained out during the game with the Dodgers. So, shit happens.
It happens. We're playing in the middle of a fucking pandemic, and Muncy just keeps hitting homers.
Hey, that's the beauty of the Dodgers. So anyway, Nikki, by the way, for those who don't know, you could actually get a shout out from Nikki Howard herself on this little app called Cameo. Yes, this is so totally not sponsored any way or shape or form, but we are getting monetized.
Like that I'm talking to you. You're like, wait, go to her Patreon. I'm like, yeah, what he said.
And of course, you could order a very phenomenal, very legendary shout out for, I believe, if I'm still remembering correctly, for only $10. You could definitely.
I also priced for $20.
$20. Okay, well, still affordable.
Still affordable, sure.
Yeah, for $20, you could get a legendary shout out. I mean, she has done for a couple of people, maybe me included, and it's definitely is worth the money, and it is definitely worth your time. She takes above and beyond to produce not only content for you guys, but also to give you the best shout outs. So once again, all the links to her stuff will be in the description. She has her own website, so you guys could check that out as well. NikkiHoward.com. Will be in the description. Howard. Nikki A. Howard, excuse me.
Nikki Howard. I'm like, who is this? Who is this to me?
Of course. And if of course, follow her on all social medias. Go listen to the podcast. It's definitely worth everything, to say the least. And donate to the Patreon, donate to support. And of course, make sure, I'm going to plug myself really quick. Make sure you subscribe to my stuff as well. Link will be there's that link button, of course, in the description below.
Which way?
It's kind of like I always point out.
Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to help you out now. I'm like,
I appreciate it. And of course, as a person myself, I always believe in supporting those that support you. So of course, support Nikki. Of course, for those that check out this interview and just click on, even if it's one person that's clicking on Nikki's stuff, that makes the world, and that makes everything to me, because I know that people are getting more support rather than me. So
thank you so much for having, and thank you for supporting me. I saw your name pop up in my email, and I was like, I know you have been following me for so long, and I was like, it is my honor to do you know what I mean? Exactly what you just said, support people who support you. So thank you.
Well, of course, I always believe that when it comes to social media, it's not about being a robot, as they say. It's about, support. If I honestly, and this is what I say about my Instagram page and my just stuff in general, if I find something cool, I'm posting it. It's not like I'm going to be like, oh, so Nikki Howard just posted another skit with Stevie, and it's about let me try to remember one of them. Oh yeah, so the one about when you're an intern or whatever, or a office worker, and they're just trying. Yeah, and I'm just
all time.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna post that. You know what I mean? Life. I always believe that life is not about just forcing things, or just it's about just, I find something cool, I'm gonna post it. I'm going to interview someone because I want to get a conversation going. You know what I mean? It's not like I have a little notebook right here. This is a mask, but you get the idea. And just saying, okay, Nikki, so first question, how are you?
What is your favorite color? Go.
What was it like that's before we get everything done. I almost forgot, I'm stupid. So speaking about your modeling and acting career, you did a lot of skits for this one promotion. Oh my goodness! Oh, this organization. It's a energy drink.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Energy. Yes.
Yeah.
Legendary skits along with Sydney Mailer and a couple of other beautiful models as well. Can you talk about the sponsorship and how it's been, writing these skits for Bang?
Well, I feel like this, I guess I have to break the news to you. I no longer work with them. I'm just drinking the rest of my beverages. But still great. I think that when they approached me, they were expecting me to kind of do what everyone else was doing, and look a certain way. And I was like, I will do this, but it's not going to be what you think it is. And they were like, okay. And so then I just started making stuff, and they were like, from now on, you have to get your scripts approved. And I was like, okay. Because I guess they were a little too risky. I don't know. I'm trying to do, but it was fun. And I appreciate that they gave me some creative freedom to do stuff, and that people found them funny, which is awesome. I will say there were so many that did not get approved that really would have gone viral. Just sad. But one day.
Well, I mean, hey, it was an awesome time when you were there.
Yes.
One of my favorites, of course, happens to be the well, not drug addict per se, but it was getting to that point with the addict angle that you did put, where you were just drinking bang back and forth, and you were just like, I can't stop. And then Sydney had to consult you, and it was fun.
Forgot about that one. I'm so glad that one stuck.
Well, hey, it's definitely legendary, and it's. Like I mentioned before, your creative process is something influential. It's, especially with your creative process, the script writing and all that. As a broadcast student, that's what I love. That's what I absolutely love. And, I wish nothing but the best for you in the future. Say hello to Mr. Dylan Francis for me as well. I love his music as well. And of course, thank you guys so much for tuning into this interview. Make sure you follow Nikki once again on all of her stuff. Link will be down in the description. Subscribe to her channel. She has a YouTube channel, of course, where she posts all of her skits as well, if you love it, from Instagram and wherever you can find social media. You also could subscribe to the podcast, Sorry Mom Podcast, which you could also do. Subscribe to the Patreon. Come on, you guys could
subscribe. Do it.
It's so much. It's so much that I could plug, but everything will be down in the description, of course. And of course, order a Cameo. Of course, do everything that you guys can. And until we meet again, I will see you guys in the next interview. Thank you so much, Nikki, and I will see you guys next. Of course. See you again. I'm trying to get to the end recording button. Where is it going? It's touchscreen. And